All right. Hello, everybody out there on LinkedIn. Hey, John.
Hey there, Joe. How's it going?
It's going good. So before we get started, I'm going to introduce John Harden. John Harden has spent the past 15 years in IT and MSP industry. He started his career at the MSP knock before moving into software engineering and operations. And then he eventually became the founder of Saaslio. Then Avik acquired Saaslio in 2022. And today he serves as the director of strategy and technology evangelism at Avik, where he leads his team in developing strategic partnerships and initiatives that support revenue growth and market expansion. He's also responsible for driving AI adoption across the organization. So today we're going to talk about how to cover your assets.
We're joke number one. Can we get like a asset joke counter in the top right? We need to get cheeky jokes going on there.
Okay, and why MSPs need to deal with the rising risk of AI and shadow IT and other factors that are expanding the attack surface. Okay, so first, welcome, John. Thank you for being here with me. I was so excited. I saw you CCF, and I was so excited to do this with you. And before we start, how's Lucy?
Lucy is good. She's at daycare now. She's loving her best life. She is eating real food and crawling and all of the things that keeps Dad on edge. But life is good. Life is good, Joe. It was great seeing you at CCF. And I won't lie, I was getting pretty excited this morning. I saw we were coming on live. There was only one person I think I ever do webinars that matches my energy. And so, like, I don't know where we're just going to keep one-upping each other this whole thing. By the end, like, we're just going to be jacked at the end of this thing. So I'm excited to be here, Joe. That's my way of saying let's do it.
Super. So I think we're going to, do you want to just dive right in?
Let's do it. However you want to do it, man.
So I want to start for the uninitiated, because the uninitiated, the people that are watching this that are not MSPs, although probably everybody watching is an MSP, for the people that are, what is an attack surface and why does it matter?
All right. So attack surface monitoring, ASM, or attack surface management, really depends on what you're going on. But let's just talk on the attack surface. It really, in like the most simplest of forms, is all of the entry points that an attacker could attack your business, and they could enter and extract data or damage your business. And it's by attacking things that are on the external side. So that could be maybe hardware or software. It could be an interface, a network device. It could be user credentials. It could be an IoT device that is pinging up to the internet. It could be anything and it could be everything. It's really an ever-growing part of something that you'll need to be watching in the cybersecurity space because there's so many attack vectors. But I'm probably getting us ahead of the curve. But like a really like explain it like I asked ChatGPT to explain it like I'm 5 before I came out here, because you do it like, imagine your house had windows and doors, and each one of them is a place that you could get in. The more windows and doors you add to the house, the more places people can break in.
Yeah.
It said, make a joke. And it told me, imagine if you left cookies on the windowsill. The raccoon took the cookies. The raccoon is the hacker and the cookies are your data. So thank you, ChatGPT, for helping explain it like I'm 5.
That is perfect, right? So, and that's really well, there's a couple of things. So I really like that you asked ChatGPT, because that kind of brings me to the next question. Why is there such an increase in that attack surface right now? And I think you just talked about right now with ChatGPT, but go ahead.
Well, let's get to the root of an attack surface, right? So at the root of an attack surface, I said it could be network, it could be hardware, it could be a misconfigured firewall, it can be an IoT device, it could be accounts on the dark web. It just grows and grows and grows. Well, all of these things in summary are defined as assets. And counter number 3, I didn't really pull the whole thing, but like assets. Now we're at 4. So assets in general are anything in your business that can hold data. I'm stealing that pretty much. That's Matt Lee's definition, and I don't want to vary from it because it's the most simple, nonsensical way to describe an asset.
Yeah.
If you go down like the compliance frameworks, they're all going to describe it different. Some are going to be prescriptive, and they're going to say they're your user accounts and your switches and your firewalls. They're also your SaaS apps and your software and your hardware devices. And some are going to be more general. But I really like an asset is anything in your business that holds business data. And that is the best way to really define it, because I just it's not like the most important business data in the world, but I just put business data into ChatGPT.
You did.
What an attack surface was, it gave me a good raccoon joke. Probably not the highest value IP, but I did just increase the attack surface, or I didn't increase the attack surface of like the surface didn't get wider, but the data that could be exposed got a little bit wider on that attack.
And that's really the thing for MSPs to look out for, and which kind of moves into this shadow IT conversation, right? Is that businesses are trying to solve problems. They don't care about attack surface.
No.
They're just trying to solve a problem, right? So if there's a new tool, if there's a new SaaS application, if there's a new thing that they can put data into that's going to help them solve their business problem, they're going to do it. And most of the time, if they're your client, they're not going to ask you. They don't even think to ask you. They don't even think it matters to ask you, because they're trying to fix the problem that they have. And then when you discover it later as the MSP, you go crazy. You're like, oh, why'd you do that? Don't you know you're exposing yourself and you increase your attack surface? But so what do MSPs need to do to be able to cover their assets?
I needed a little button here
to what do they need to do to be able to cover their assets effectively, so that because it's just going to keep happening, and more tools are coming out every day. And it's interesting. I remember when ChatGPT first came out, there was a real character limit. It was like a hard character limit you couldn't put. And somebody built like this chunking tool where you could just put like your whole thing and it would break it up into the chunks. But it wasn't like a real website. It was just like you were just throwing your data into somebody's thing and it would split it up for you. But you were giving them all your data.
Yep. Yeah.
Literally.
So let's go back to your root question. Ask it again so I can like answer it perfectly for you.
As an MSP, how do you deal with the fact? I'm sorry that I gave you so much, but as an MSP, how do you deal with the fact that your customer is trying to solve a problem?
Yep.
They're trying to solve a problem, and they're just going to put their data anywhere to solve that problem without telling you. And now you're it when they're in trouble.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Fundamentally, the attack surface is going to continue to grow. It's one of those things that are really hard. It's like a whack-a-mole problem. Like as you knock one down, another one pops back up. I had a good webinar a couple weeks ago with another thought leader in the attack surface space. And, they brought up a really good point. The asset discovery and the attack surface discovery begins in the sales journey. And so I think this is a really good point to start with, because most people think about when they're going to get visibility into their attack surface once they've got the customer onboarded.
Yeah.
Discovery begins in the beginning. And the reason the discovery begins in the beginning is because A, you need to quote your customer, right? B, you need to understand the most they can. You have to know that they're not going to give you all the information, and it's not because they're going to withhold information. They're just, if I asked you right now, Joe, what were the last 20 apps you used in the last, you just couldn't remember. And that's just apps. That's not even what are your accounts, what are your hardware devices, what softwares, all the different things. So you're going to get the best you can. The reason it's critical in the discovery and the sales journey, though, is also not to quote them, not to just get the best discovery, because you also need to understand the risk in your business, the risk in your MSP, and what it is the risk of taking on the client. And that's a really good perspective to take, because most of the viewpoints that MSPs have are like, okay, what is my client's risk? But you need to be taking the viewpoint as well as what's your risk when it comes to an attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can MSPs handle it? It starts in the discovery journey. It begins in the sales disco when you're understanding your customer. It moves into the onboard journey. That's when you're rolling your RMM, your PSA out. Not really your PSA, but your PSA for inventory, I suppose.
Yeah.
Your network discovery, your software discovery, your SaaS discovery, all the discovery tools you can. Maybe you've got dark web scanning and a couple other utility options out there. And your job is to bring all those assets into, your single documentation source if possible, understand those attack surface, and start to chunk away on a cybersecurity front.
Yeah.
But the challenge is you're never going to be able to keep it all. And it has to be a continuous journey. It's not, I onboard and my list is complete.
Yeah.
Like just yesterday, sorry, Joe, I'll give you a second here, but just yesterday I was reading in a Signal chat with some of the folks in our industry about I am not going anywhere near that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A Signal chat that the FBI warned that the FBI is warning businesses not to use those online file converters. Everybody's been like, I need a doc to PDF or a JPEG to PNG or like whatever it is, and there's like 1,000 results.
Yeah.
Most of those are obviously scanning the data, looking for critical business data, but secondarily, they're now taking the data and transforming it in a way and injecting malicious code into the transformation. When you download it and execute it, you may not know, you may be running malware, which makes a ton of sense. But it's just another example of the attack surface growing, that it was always been an attack surface, but the risk is higher now.
Yeah.
And so as an MSP, it is a continuous journey from the beginning of sales all the way through onboard, all the way through your QBR, through your continuous monitoring practice to understand what that attack surface is. And it's your job to know it because your customers don't care, like you said.
Yeah, they don't. See, that's one of the things that we tell our clients, our MSPs is, look, you have to move away from being an MSP and you have to start being a BSP. You have to be a business solutions provider, right? You have to be a business solutions provider, because when you're a business solutions provider, you're looking at, instead of having QBRs where you're coming in and doing a little tech vomit on somebody,
I know.
You come in and you ask them, hey, what are your plans over the next 5 years? And you do a SWOT analysis with them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you do a SWOT analysis with them and you look at what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for that business. And you start really seeing, where is the organization going? What is it that we're doing here? Then you can be a real advisor, because one of the things, the opportunity that I see that MSPs miss all the time, right, is, yes, we have to govern the attack surface. Yes, we have to manage the technology. We have to do all that. But technology is the central nervous system of the business. You can help that organization grow. You can help them go to the next level if you're asking the right questions.
Yep.
The other thing that does is it gives you clues about where the attack surface will be next. Because as they tell you the things that they're doing, you go, oh, you're going to need this software. You're going to need that software. So you're rather than chasing it, they're telling you.
Yep.
Right. And so it gives you a much better opportunity to be a true trusted advisor, a true strategic partner with them.
Yep.
To help them go to that next level. So with that said, what do you see about that methodology in terms of being able to cover your assets, right? What do you see about that methodology, like going after what should MSPs be doing beyond what I just said?
Yeah, so I mean, let me like distill a little bit of what you just said too, right? Because I've been hearing the BSP term a lot, and I really like it. I don't think we're like, as a entire industry, ready to all convert over to BSP, but strategic, small, nimble managed service providers who are looking to dig into be a deeper niche and provide better service should absolutely consider what a BSP might mean. But you talked about it. You said, what are your business challenges, or what are you growing, or where are you looking to expand, and what technology are you looking to leverage? Like, it's a heyday if you ask that question, because you can't make it through a webinar without bringing it up. Like, they're going to probably bringing AI up to you. Everybody's reading about it. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's pontificating about it. Like
Yeah.
AI is the thing right now that was cyber before that and cloud before that. And, it's just the new theme. And as a BSP, how are they leveraging it, or what do they want to do with it, is going to be a heck of a question that's going to unlock a lot of opportunity. And like you said, it's also going to reveal some of that attack surface. Like, how are you looking at AI? Oh, well, I'm using ChatGPT to do this. Oh, okay. So now we have a little bit more visibility. Are there other AI tools you're looking at using? Yada, yada, yada. And then you could kind of start going into business problems and start solving them. But I think right now is a heyday for revenue people that are looking at the business problem. Because, let's take that simple scenario of me prompting ChatGPT. I didn't really put like critical data into my attack surface, but it's still low risk because we use enterprise. It's low quality data, but it's an external attack surface. So it's probably something I need to worry about. But what about the businesses that maybe leverage Copilot? Perfectly fine, but they don't do any data governance. So they then put all of their company data into it. Well, now you have still relatively low risk, but high criticality of data into the attack surface. And so how can you help navigate the risk that they are exposing their business to when leveraging AI, and help them with data governance practices and things like that? Like,
so the governance is a great thing. So I wanted to you just opened up a whole nother can of worms. So I want to kind of go down that road for just, we're going to take a little side trip for a second, right? Because when I look at the governance and compliance frameworks around AI, right now there's like 50 governance and compliance frameworks, mostly in Europe, not a lot in the US that I'm seeing. There's no real governance in the US, but in Europe, there's already like 50 frameworks. And it was kind of the same way before GDPR. In Europe, it was like there was like 50 frameworks, and then they started consolidating down until they got to like, the basics, right? GDPR, like their NIST standard and all those things. What do you see as happening in terms of governance with AI over the next couple of years? Have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? Because it's needed, but I don't hear anybody really talking about serious data governance and real compliance around it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. It's unfortunately it's inferred. If you're using like CIS or NIST, it's inferred if you read through the language, right? I go back to, I think the problem with some of the compliance frameworks out there is that they require updates. It's not a problem. I'm kind of being like, sarcastic here, but like the problem is like they have to be updated, and they're not going to update every 6 months. They're not going to update every day.
Yeah.
But
like some of them haven't updated in decades.
I know, but go to the base question or the base definition I gave earlier. That's why I always give Matt Lee's definition. Like, what is an asset? Anything in your business that holds data. What is data? Like, very simply put, like any information of the business. And then, what is AI? AI is, for now, in most business cases, like some people are on the cutting edge, but the reality is your customers' AI is ChatGPT, it's Copilot, it's the generative AI. It's not agentic probably quite yet.
Yeah.
So what is ChatGPT and what is Copilot? That is simply a software asset. And then you have a visibility into what's being used. And so you need to be managing not just the software installed in the computer these days, the SaaS that's installed as well. And then from there, from the data governance side, it's what data exists in your business and what data is being added to those SaaS assets. And so, I get it, right? Like, Europe's leading the way and saying all the ways that we should be governing AI, and they're doing it much better from like an ethical perspective. I don't even want to unpack like ethics and all the different areas that we can go with Gen AI.
Yeah.
It's a great topic. Don't get me wrong. It's just not for today. But the thing is, if you just like read the baseline of your CIS controls or NIST or ISO or whatever you're using in your business, it's kind of inferring the fact that you should probably know what data is being put into your AIs, whether it explicitly calls it or not. It's an asset. It holds data. It's holding business information, and you need to be aware of it. And you need to talk to your customers about it.
Yeah.
You need to be educating them about it. For most things.
And here's the other piece. And this is kind of, again, we're going on a little fork this way now,
Right.
about your if you're going to cover your assets, right? You have to start talking to your customer about AI and the usage of AI and how they use it and all that stuff. And if you're not, somebody else will.
100%. Yeah. That's the number one. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were about to go on.
No, go. I want to hit that. That's the reaction. So just go.
They're reading about it in Forbes. They're reading about it on their iPhones, and they catch up in the middle of the morning on LinkedIn. And when I say they, I'm talking about usually your executive stakeholder, your business owner, or to be fair, your employees too, right? Like 70% of employees are using AI, and business leaders don't really know about it.
Yeah.
Another interesting stat, 52% of employees are scared of AI. So maybe you should probably get in front of it and talk to your employees about it. But in general, like the business owners are using it and wanting to figure it out. The efficiency opportunity is absurd. So if you're not talking to them about these efficiencies, it's crazy to me that you're not talking about them. I just don't even know another way to say it. Like, I don't mean to be so blunt. But like, if you don't have your QBR updated to say, if they read from a script or if they're actually like being strategic, like if you're not talking about AI in every one of your QBRs, what are you talking about right now? You got like, you have to go through your normal QBR pathway and you got to take them through their cyber journey. I get all the other stuff, but like if AI is not part of it, what do you
and I'll tell you, if you look at, when you look at our SBR template, we don't do all like the tech talk is very little compared to the business talk. Right. And it's because it's really focused on how do I help you solve your business problems, which is that was the whole thing you said. Not everybody's ready to go BSP because of that ultra niching. You got to get down. Like I have a client that just does dermatologists and that's all he does. And he's really good at it. Right. Because he understands the space. And so he can build tools and bring AI tools. Like one of the tools that he was talking to me about is this camera that the person stands in front of it naked like this, right? It takes a picture and it looks at all the little spots and it tells you this could be a melanoma, this could be a this could be a that, right? It looks at all the little spots. It could, and it does it, and it's all AI driven, but that's in terms of revenue, it's a big revenue opportunity, but it also opens up back to, I'm going to keep bringing the conversation back to covering your assets, right? Yeah. But it also opens up other areas of risk, right? Like, is there anything in HIPAA about AI and what's happening with that? Do you know anything about that?
Like, okay, I'll be honest, I don't keep up with HIPAA, but I know for a fact what you're allowed to and not allowed to do with patient data records. And I know for a fact you're not allowed to put them into open sourced modeled AI. I have a great case on HIPAA, and it's a little bit more even rudimentary than AI, but it's just shadow IT. I was working with a business over on the Northeast Coast, and our MSP took our tech and did a SaaS scan, did all the SaaS discovery, went in there, found Airtable, really innocuous tool. If you're not familiar with like Smartsheets, it's like Google Sheets. I know you are, but for the folks that aren't, it's like Smartsheet, it's like Google Excel, it's just Excel, it's smart Excel. And the front desk folks had found, oh, well, we could build like little alerts and all these things off of it if we just intake with Airtable. And so they started doing intake with Airtable. And before the MSP never even knew this was happening, of course, because the front desk decided they were just going to start using intake with Airtable. But then they would like go in the back and then they would transfer it over to their electronic system, their electronic data system. And by the time the MSP found it, they'd been using it for 2 years because the MSP was never scanning SaaS. And they had thousands and thousands and thousands of records in it. And even further, like, they'd go, okay, the MSP's like, wow, we got to stop this. The docs agreed, like, this is crazy. We didn't know it, like, but we do need to fix it. To replace the software and all the stuff that they had built over there and their IT team had built, automating all of it in Airtable, it was like $60,000 project for the MSP to complete.
Wow.
or it was $70,000 to upgrade to Airtable Enterprise for the year. And so this client is frustrated, but it's just a simple example of why you have to monitor that attack surface continuously, because had they got in front of it before it gotten that bad, it could have been a much more cost-effective solution.
Well,
And I say this story to just take it into AI. There are people in medical businesses, the next generation workers who use ChatGPT to get through medical school, and they are going to be leveraging it to get their job done. And the reality is, we're way past the if scenario; we're into the when scenario.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
these workers are using these tools. You have to provide enterprise grade tooling that silos their data sets, has that governance built in, allows HIPAA data to be loaded in, and you have to be educating them on how to use it. I've been yelling this for years about shadow IT and SaaS, but even more with shadow IT and AI. Like, you have to be educating your people on what's happening, and you have to provide the tools. But beyond that, you have to monitor it. You just can't assume that it's not happening.
Yeah.
You know it's happening, and you don't get to feign ignorance. None of the courts are helping the MSPs. None of the courts are saying, hey, your customer got popped. Well, look at this little agreement in the subtext of my MSA. Well, the courts don't really care right now.
They don't care.
You took on the attack surface and you said you were going to protect it. So you're liable that the attack surface was exposed, and you're liable that that data was exposed through the attack surface. And so,
and especially, look, if you're a smaller MSP, you want to listen to what John is saying right now. You're liable for the attack surface.
yeah,
You're responsible for the attack surface. So you want to really pay attention from the sales conversation all the way through onboarding, through that maintenance of that client. You want to be really paying attention to what's happening inside of that environment every day in every possible way, which brings me to, what are you doing over at Avik? You like how I did that?
how long do we got?
We got a few minutes. Give me. So what are you doing over there? How are you helping MSPs solve this problem?
Yeah, so I'm a tech evangelist over at us. Avik is like one of my 4 jobs. You probably see me a lot out on social and communicating about AI,
Yeah.
and, safety and usage of AI. Avik right now is undergoing an AI transformation, just like every other business, and I'm leading the helm of the AI transformation here at Avik. And what's really cool is we're sharing to the community what we're learning and sharing what we have found successful with AI. And we're not really doing it in quiet and in silence. We're sharing with other vendors what we're using. Yeah. Fundamentally, this is a shared responsibility across all of us to do it right, because as vendors to MSPs, we want our MSPs educated because we want them to be successful and we want them to grow. So that's why I'm the evangelist around all these topics. But I'm driving the change with 300 employees, not just the technology, the workforce transformation, which is super fun. I'm building strategic relationships and alliances across the industry. And I'm having a heck of a fun time doing it. And it's a really cool time to be doing it, because I'm also beyond like these high level pie in the sky pontification stuff. I've got Postman stood up on the other screen over here, automating agents and building out agents right now.
Wow.
Avik to an agentic generation with its AI transformation.
Wow.
I get to apply, I get to build, I get to talk, I get to have all the fun things.
That's awesome, man. So what can MSPs count on you for? Like, what's the thing that you can do for them that's like, here, this is how, this is how you deal with this, right?
Yeah, so it goes into that, a couple stories I quipped into here earlier, right? Like, it goes into that continuous discovery and continuous monitoring of the attack surface. And while Avik is by no means an attack surface monitoring or management company, we do have visibility into the network infrastructure and the changes that are going on inside that, and the up, down, and the IT ops around it. We have visibility into the software, the SaaS, the users, the accounts, and the identities that the employees are using to access the internet and the web and the devices. And we have endpoint visibility on the server and the way that employees are engaged, endpoint server visibility and the software that's installed from a compliance. So, when you look at the CIS definition of assets, we fulfill about 5, 6, 7 of those boxes of your attack surface.
Yeah.
And so That's why I like to talk about it a little bit, because we're not a cyber security company by any means, but when you look left of them, there's cyber resiliency, and cyber resiliency is about knowing what you have and protecting what you have. And the cybersecurity is the cybersecurity is when you
When?
get attacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cyber resiliency is about extending that when longer.
Yeah.
And so by having visibility into scenarios like a doctor, putting data into Airtable, by having visibility of those things, you can get in front of the customer, prevent those customer, potential breaches and exposures. You can reduce their risk. You can reduce your risk. And so that's where, Avix stands really strong in the visibility perspective.
Good. So I'm going to bring it back to SWAT,
Cool.
right? How can MSPs use the things that you're talking about, the tools that you're talking about, to help their clients better understand not just the risk of their business, but the threats that are outside threats that are not necessarily, don't have anything to do with the technology, but really to understand the outside threats, really to understand their internal weaknesses and their opportunities. What are some of the places, like, and I went here because you're just like making me think about all these things. Like you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, if I'm standing in front of a client and I know all this, there's so much insight that I have into that business that person sitting over there may not have. So how can they help? What are the things they can say to help their customers better?
Yeah, I think, when you have full visibility into all the assets are out there, you think of that customer onboarding journey today. A lot of the customer onboarding journey, when it's manual and you don't have technology to support that visibility, it's a lot of what. It's like, what do you have? Where do you have it? How do you get access? It's a lot of questioning. Yeah. Whereas when you think about having an automated discovery platform, you have the ability to go back to the customer and say, here's what you have and here's what we recommend. And you begin to switch the journey from a what do you have to here's how we recommend moving forward. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to tailor that approach. But it allows you to really quickly cut through the bullshit that unfortunately is going to be encountered.
Yeah.
You're going to go to that CFO or that CTO and you're going to say, hey, how are you looking at using AI? And the CTO might come back and go, oh, our team's looking at it. But, our employees aren't using it. Being able to come back to them and show those reports, not a I told you so, but more of a this is more important than you think topic. And so it's just giving you not ammunition to tell your customer they're wrong, but ammunition to go to your customer and show them what's happening in their environment. Yeah. You can say, here's your risks, and we're here to reduce those risks, but we're also here to transform your business. And so you can't talk about transforming a business unless you know where the business is. And so that's where having that visibility in the attack surfaces, that's where they're at. And if you want to transform them, you need a really good understanding of where they're at before you take them on a journey any further. Because if you may transform all of their businesses with AI, but if you left the cookies on the plate in the windowsill, call back from earlier, and the rack got in, that whole business could be shut down overnight. Yeah. So having that full visibility of every window and every door and every lock is extra critical, no matter where you are in the journey with the customer.
Yeah. And as I've run 3 MSPs over a period of 20 years, and I'd be really excited if I was running an MSP today, because there's so much opportunity now, right? There's so much opportunity when you look at what there is right now. I like what you said, like that CTO might say, oh, my people aren't using AI. And then you come back and you go, no, they are, right? I think we should take this conversation up the chain because they're using AI. You may want to bring that in-house now. Yeah. And then you can start moving up the chain to look at what the business opportunities are and start having the business conversation. Because even at this level, you're still dealing with the tech. Yeah. And I know that I'm harping on this, right? But for those of you out there that are interested in really learning how to run a SWOT analysis, we have a SWOT workshop that's coming up on April 15th. And Adam Walter, who has made a living of doing SWOT analysis and really, from Humanize IT, is going to be leading that SWOT workshop. So there's the link there for the SWOT workshop. If you're an MSP and you don't know how to run a SWOT analysis and you don't know how to show your customer where the risks are using tools like Auvik, like that scenario that John just gave, where you're sitting with the CTO and you're going, look, this is what's happening. And now you can move into that next conversation, to that business conversation. If you don't know how to do that, come register for the SWOT workshop, spend a day with us. You can come in person or you can come online, and you will learn, because it's a hybrid event. So you will learn exactly what to do there. And I'm hoping you're going to come and show up, even if you show up online, buddy.
I'll show up online. Started with how's Lucy doing? She's 7 months. I am limiting my travel in 2025, but you can't get my face off LinkedIn Live. That's for sure.
There you go. So before we wrap up, I did want to ask you another question, because this is a question that I'm asking a lot of people.
Of course.
Gen AI, what do you think? Where is it going? Where are we? How scared should we be?
I've been on a big
like real Gen AI, not the large language models, not LLMs, but like real Gen AI,
the accessible stuff.
Yeah.
I have been on a big tear on, let's convert FUD to FOMO here. Like, it's not about FUD, it's about FOMO. It's about, AI. I did this presentation to my whole company where I compared the industrial revolution, the robotics transformation in the 80s, and all these generational changes that have always happened. I even made a couple comments earlier. The cloud change, the cyber change, AI is just the next change. Like, it's not going to dramatically displace everything. But, well, let me rephrase, because actually I don't believe what I just said. It is going to dramatically change things.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
But it's not going to dramatically reduce the workforce in the way that I think a lot of people are terrified about it. There will be new jobs created, but the way that the world works will change dramatically.
Yes.
Because there will be smaller businesses solving more niche problems, but bigger TAMs. But I think the next generation is no question agentic AI. When you look at the 5 stages of where AI is at these days, we're only at stage 3 with agentic. Then you've got like the operator in the mix. But agentic, if you haven't looked at like rolling out agents in your company, I wouldn't say you're like behind the curve. I did a survey on LinkedIn the other day of like how many people are rolling out agents in their company. Yeah. It's only about 30%. And that's my network. So like the reality is it's probably like 3%. But you're not like, I've talked to so many people who are like, have a conversation with me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're finally just rolling out some of your first few agents. Yeah, we're rolling out our first few agents. And everybody feels like the whole world is purely automated by AI already. And that's not true. We're so ready. Like, we're just entering an amazing time to do it. And so if you're an MSP that's out there that's thinking like, boy, AI is going to be I'm too late, or, oh man, AI is going to be too much for me to jump on. Like, now is the time. Like, there was no better time to plant a tree than today. And that analogy is true, but it really is true now, because today there's just so much more approachable ways to do it. So agents, agentic AI, a future in which we are automatically gluing our systems and businesses together with AI. We're not hiring people to solve the intern level challenges. We're hiring AI to solve it. And then you can move into crew and operator, orchestrator, agent. This is a whole nother talk, Joe, but agentic AI is where we are today.
Well, I like what you said. This is a whole nother talk. I think I'm going to ask you to come back, because we're doing something on AI later in the year. And I think I'm going to ask you to come back so we could have that conversation. So,
all of it will have changed.
I'm going to put in my hold on your calendar now. So I will talk to you about that.
You could bring up the end of this. You should start that webinar with the last like 30 seconds of what I said, so I can laugh and be like, "Oh, we thought we were in agentic future. We're in Scientian, like Synthesia, like hyper automation, scale transformation era of AI. Like everything.
Very, very cool.
That was 3 months ago, Joe.
Good. So as we wrap up, here's what I'd like to know: how do they get a hold of you? Where do they get you? All that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a hold of me, I love connecting on LinkedIn. Let's just connect. Let's have a conversation. If you connect with me, as long as you don't put like a really generic intro that says, "Hi, I'm this person," it's clear that if you're an AI bot, I usually will connect and have a convo. If you're interested in the technology, like in the discovery stuff we talked about, just go to Auvik.com. We have amazing people that support us back there at Aavik, and they can help you guide in how to use the technology and solve it into your business services or your managed services provider business. But yeah, I'm here to have a conversation, and in 6 months, maybe it's my digital twin that has the AI conversation.
Oh, interesting.
Never John in the first place.
John will be like on 6 podcasts at the same time, and he's got 2 lives going on. It's like,
see, Joe, this is why I love having a webinar with you. I don't laugh nearly as much on other webinars, and I don't get nearly as animated. So thanks for bringing that out.
Oh, very, very, very cool. I love you so much, man. Thank you for being on the live today. Yeah. And, you know, for all of you out there, if you really want to take your business to the next level, make sure you connect with John, understand what's happening out there in the AI world. And again, if you want to learn how to do a SWOT, go ahead and put it back up there again. If you want to learn how to do a SWOT, come to the SWOT workshop, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right. Remember that you are loved. Yes, even you, Jeff, wherever you are.
Oh, in the background, you are loved. Thanks for keeping our show going live.
All right. Thank you, Manuel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.